You see that? Taylor Swift was born on December the 13th and considers 13 her lucky number. You know, as if Taylor Swift, if she likes 13, maybe it's okay. You know, what kind of coverage is that to give someone who steals their hit music? What kind of coverage is that to give a fraud on May the 13th? May the 13th, 2022. Okay, so I guess it's my job now to go over some of the blogs that I've shared since, I think, 2012 about Taylor Swift, about how she can't be trusted, and I better not make this for children, because if I have to give you the details of what went on at her concerts to my picture, you know, you might not want to be eating when you hear the details of how ugly it is. What she did to my image with her concert in 2013 here in Canada, on Canada Day in Vancouver. What she had her workers doing to my picture is so disgusting. And this is the guy that wrote her hits. This is how she wants her workers to treat him. And you people in the news, you think that you're the moral, you take the moral high ground. You want to be the ones to say who's decent and who's indecent. And this is your star, getting her workers to do things to my picture that I would call sexual. You know, it sounds to me like some kind of sex crime, you know, from the details of what they did to that picture that day. So let me just read you about Taylor Swift since 2012 from my blog. You know, maybe it's too hard for you to find her name in the statements index. Maybe you can't even find the blog. There's no views on it. Or maybe it's hacked and somebody else is saying it's them. But I still gotta try, even on this joke of a system here that takes my music, and then when I try to take it back, just wants me to argue for the rest of my life on the website where it all got ripped off. And the lawyers all turn their backs, and the cops all turn their backs. And they're all decent. And you can trust them to tell you who's decent, who isn't, right? Oh, a proxy. Oh, you're not connected. But look at this. Every time I go to Blogger, half the time I go there I get this. You're not connected. Then I'm there all of a sudden. Oh, why wasn't I connected? You know, this kind of mysterious stuff really makes me wonder, you know, like what's going on in Google. You know, they're out marching for someone else's crisis, you know. What is it, trying to protect secrets that people put on their website? How noble of them. How noble. But they just let my entire life get destroyed on their website. So let's start with today's post here, which is on my present mistypings is the name of the blog that I opened up at the beginning of the year. And I posted this blog here onto it today. And as soon as I saw that article about the 13th floor and how the guy was saying, oh, December the 13th is Taylor Swift's birthday, and she thinks it's her lucky number. This is Ooga Baluga, which I know was on the radio. I know it was popular. I know it played in the drive time slot, which I know is the highest paying slot on the radio, because that's when people are driving to work, driving home from work, and they have their radio on, you know, listening to the alternative rock, listening to my rock, and loving Taylor Swift for it. This kind of music right here. So I better turn up the volume though. Yeah. Hey, maybe we'll just... There it is playing like it's supposed to play inside the... I'll just read it to you as it plays. I am reposting the above video and song I did not get around to recreating until January 2019, 12 years after I first shared it. Because Robert Lacey thinks we should all celebrate Taylor Swift's birthday, which means he doesn't believe she's a total fraud. She is a total fraud who stole her hits from my YouTube account in 2007. And this was only one of them. We do not celebrate the birthdays of frauds in civilized countries, as far as I know. People, keep an eye out for fancy-looking blog pages that you would that want you to love frauds for all the songs I didn't have time to rewrite from the hours of music they stole. Don't be a fool. Don't love a fraud for the songs her victim hadn't enough years left in his life to rewrite. You'd be wise to give the victim, myself, the benefit of the doubt here instead of doing what Robert Lacey wants and trusting the offender. Lacey is too lazy. Here's a tune that got into the drive time slots on the alternative station. Who do you say wrote it? That empty-headed bimbo? Hey, that's my voice. Does it sound wrong to you? Sounds okay to me. Doesn't sound much different than what they were playing to millions of, I presume, your kind of blog readers. And why did they reject me if I wrote their favorite drive time music? Gee, maybe it's because that's what happens when you take my achievements and give all the credit for them to Taylor Swift. But you've had since January 2019 and my publishing of this song in my name to straighten it out. Did you go to the Artist Mistreatment Awards instead? How many have the wrong name on them? The American Music Awards 2019, hosted by Taylor Swift, at the same time as I rewrite her hit from 2007. How nice. And Google, moral Google, though they're so good. I found his poisonous article on your search engine. Hey, keep watching out for our rights. Not my rights, though. Someone else's rights. It's some kind of popular rights that you can use to make people think you're on their side when you do things like this to me. Down here at the bottom of this article here that I posted, that I just read to you while the song was playing. And by the way, I rewrote Spill Out Your Honey too. I just didn't bother to put it on YouTube. But I did put the lyrics in my blog. I'll show you if you want. Right now I'm going to show you how you get to the statements index from this page here. And this page, here's the URL. I think you could probably read that okay. You should be able to read that. Do I need to move it in a bit? There's the URL on the internet of the page I just read to you. From my blog, Present Mistypings. And if you get through that, then you can go down to the bottom here, just to that line there. Just under the article, you'll see these 3 links. Those are my links to my indexes, here. And the statements, because this is a statement, that's the one that's on the left, more statements. If it was a script, it would be this one on the left. And if it was a song, it would be this on the left. A song by itself with no statement. Just have songs on the left. You mouse over statements like this, and 2 other links pop up. using the visibility property and programming using my knowledge of JavaScript. We have arguments. Now, arguments is the one that has most of the statements. The other one's just a page of violators. We'll save that for another video. Now that takes you to this. Now, I haven't finished changing all the P's, HTTP to HTTPS or whatever yet on these. So some of them say page insecure, but don't worry about it. Doesn't matter. If you go there, you should be able to find, Taylor or Swift by just going to the, going through these index links up here and just clicking to different pages when it changes to orange, like that. So that's how I'm going to go to the Taylor Swift. That's how I'm going to find my Taylor Swift articles from the past. Happy Canada Day, Taylor is in the blog The National Bullcrapping Corporation from 2013, July. Let me read it to you. Happy Canada Day, Taylor. And I have here, while my dad risked his neck defending this country from the Nazis, he was the sole survivor of a unit of 40 men who were all killed by sniper fire in a few hours. He really was. He got dysentery from fighting in the Scheldt estuary, that battle that's in the Forgotten Battle. And someone should have told him before he enlisted that he would have been doing it all for the ego of a silly, immature tart who can't even own up to a crime when she committed it in front of the whole goddamned world. That's Taylor Swift. So, July 4th, 2013. Wow. That's when I first wrote against Taylor Swift in here, I think. I have Taylor Daft here, though, too. Taylor Daft, which is a bit earlier. It's a couple days later, actually. So I'm still angry with Taylor Swift on July 6, 2013, Saturday. And I write this kind of punishing put-down article about her. How she comes across to her victims, anyway. Hi everyone, I'm Taylor Daft, the perfect role model for young girls around the world. Just ask Bill O'Reilly, because he really pushed Taylor Swift, didn't he? Bill O'Reilly, Fox News. Back when I was young, before I turned 17, I used to watch this 41-year-old man on the internet who shared his songs on YouTube. Then when he wouldn't run out and be a star with his music, I couldn't let all his fans that he didn't know about be disappointed. So I offered myself in his place, and I've been a star ever since. Last year I went to juvie for committing fraud with one of his new songs. But as soon as I got out, they said I didn't have to worry because he didn't want to be a media pet like me. They said that in less than a year, I'd be back out performing his songs anywhere I like. Even in the city of his residence. Now this is July the 6th, the Taylor Swift concert in Vancouver, 2013. And when I play that show, I'm going to go around and make people call him a fraud for saying he wrote his songs. And she did. And I'm going to explain to him that at least I make money, which is far more important than merely making music. And she did. She did do that. Which is all he knows how to do. It's all I know how to do, make music. I don't deserve any credit for that at all. Not when she steals it all and gets paid for it. I'm only going to his country to make him look bad, but the silly people there don't think so. They think I'm going there to be with them. And they'll let me ride around in a limo while he walks down the sidewalks by himself. And they'll put me in a fine hotel while he chases mice from the walls of his flophouse room. And they'll give me the keys to the city because I'm Taylor Daft. July 6, 2013. Now here's one from last year, May 1st, 2021. Again, it has Ooga Beluga on it. But this one's from Best Past Posts, which is last year's blog that I wrote. And there is Ooga Beluga again at the top to let people know I'm the author of that song, which has been registered with the Songwriting Association of Canada. So this one has a bit of language in it. I owed money to the government this year, so I ran down to the bank on the deadline yesterday to pay it off. The guy in line before me had to pay a lot more than me. Sounded like he owed around $250,000 for 2020. He had to call someone else, probably his accountant, to complete the transaction. It got me thinking about some of the bank accounts of those industry-supported frauds with my music and comedy. Are they still boasting of their success with their crime? And why doesn't the media warn the public to avoid these frauds with my work? Is it better for the economy to stand behind a bunch of liars and thieves on TV? Gee, I use that a lot. Gee, maybe it's time for a new economy, one that supports hard work instead of mocking it. It's when I get to thinking about hard work and how it was mocked by Taylor Swift, and Blue Movie, Blue Rodeo, and fucking prick, Nickelback, and all those other rock and roll clowns who the media were praising for their arrogant crimes, that I am the most troubled these days. I have gone back to work in a real job, like the work that Taylor Grift and Blue Movie and fucking prick obviously never had to do in their lives. It's probably the same kind of job most of you have. Just a good, hard, honest job for good and honest people. The kind of hard work that no one in the candy-assed corporate media respects. They instead found virtue in every nasty no-name who thought they should get paid for my life work. You know, the Shards, the Crystalids, Taylor Grift, and those new comedy stars, and so forth. I've had to put up with countless strangers now who have been converted to the vilest hate as a result of my music and comedy in such destructive hands all these years, and the offenders too afraid to own up to their crimes and their punishments. But I still have faith that most of you are on my side against them when it comes to what they did to my work and to my life. Any appearance of support for them on TV, the internet, or anywhere should be widely condemned. And you don't need me to flag a dirty video that steals my music. You can flag it yourself and make it disappear. I don't have time to monitor all my posts anymore. I've gone back to full-time employment. It was my music or comedy that made so many undeserving performers popular. And where did that leave me? I don't think others necessarily deserve to be unpopular. But do I deserve to be unpopular for writing hit songs? Bill O'Reilly, I still recall your plug on Fox News for Taylor Grift after she stole my music video for Ooga Beluga in 2007. That's why the song's at the top of that post. Did you think I deserved to be unpopular for writing this hit? That's so utterly twisted. And that's just one song out of 200 that were stolen from me, as I'm sure you and your dishonest colleagues in the media knew all along. You lawyers who expected me to be crushed by the great gang of predator stars who'd encircled me, look, I'm still here. I got a job and now my bank account's going into 5 figures. I'll soon have the cash to pay for a real lawsuit, but I hope I can find a lawyer who can go the distance with me. I want a lawyer who will put my needs first instead of looking for a solution that would be agreeable to those broadcasting gangsters. I guess I'll have to shop around for one. If the border reopens before I die of natural causes, well, this was at the height of the pandemic I wrote this. After what happened to me at the hands of the media and their stars, I know that this civilization is in bad hands. I advise people to totally shun the media. Of course, I was unsuccessful with that. All their power must come from you first. They've come to take you all for granted, and it's made them extra arrogant. What are they good for, except to push your buttons and drive up your blood pressure? Why should we trust them? They only care about themselves and their ratings. I'm speaking of the corporate media here, the one that gets its money from big business. Tell me, since when did big business ever care about us workers? They were the ones that had us working 12 to 16-hour shifts, 6 days a week. Why should we listen to them just because they have the biggest transmitters? All they'll do is trick us into betraying ourselves. They almost had me endorsing fraud with my music and comedy. Came close in 2012. As for you people, you responded to the sincerity of my message as I expressed it in my work. Maybe you sensed the victory of a common worker in my thoughts and feelings when they were popularly received, however they were received. And then the frauds who stole them tricked you into rejecting me. Which one of you in the media said it can't all be fraud? How typical of them to speak of a concrete fact as though it can be altered by broadcasting bullshit. What do you mean it can't all be fraud? That's like saying the sky can't be blue. What color do you think it should be instead? Now listen up. The sky is blue. And I have spent most of the last 10 years of my life recovering 200 songs, over 1,000 comedy sketches, 200 poems, and over 40 cartoons, all of which you praised in the hands of frauds on the TV and radio over the last 10 or 15 years. I lived my life, and I know what's real. I wrote all of that work, and I struggled to achieve the highest possible quality in doing so. Then you knowingly, this is the media here I'm still speaking to, you knowingly let lazy bums take all the lovely rewards for it. Rewards that are supposed to be reserved for artists who make an outstanding effort. That's what can't be. And if we left it up to you media people, those frauds would be dancing on my suicide grave by now and getting their misled groupies to desecrate it afterwards. So keep pushing your crappy new content like you never had to do with my things. My good work was always its own best advertising, which is why it was so successful behind my back on so many of your treacherous, cheating stations. Broadcasters, the profits your pets boast about are dirty. Dirty money is bad for the economy. How wrong of you to confuse me with your pets. They didn't have to sell themselves out, only sell me out. But you thought I'd sell myself out for a moment in your precious limelight. There are other things far more precious to me. Besides, if I was like your pets, my work wouldn't have been nearly as appealing. my work, you know, that thing you said was so brilliant and so noble, when all the wrongest people were using it like poison against a vulnerable population. It may be convenient for you to separate me from my noblest achievements, but as you have now learned, such is physically impossible for your victim. Geez, and I blasted that out. May 1st last year, May 1st, 2021. Taylor's money is dirty, and there's probably, a couple hours more of reading content about Taylor. If you have a copy of my blog, if you're able to go to my Blogger account and see my blogs, if it hasn't been hacked, and with me, of course, suggesting this on Google and even showing pictures, and like I tried to do a couple of years ago, showing pictures of how my account was getting hacked, and doing it on YouTube didn't seem to help at all. Lawyer just shrugged his shoulders. Google didn't lift a finger to help me while that was going on. And when I went to my YouTube account and saw my songs all rearranged and with all the wrong dates on them, Google didn't lift a finger to help me when that was going on. So, good luck even trying to see this video from start to finish, I guess. At least I tried.